Okay, so today I'm going to install in my 2020 Challenger RT what is known as a Linkr 2 system. And this is a pretty cool device because it actually augments your factory alarm system, and it has two features that I'm most impressed with. The first thing is that it acts as a tracker. So if someone steals my car, I'll be able to track it and find whatever parts are left from it. The more important feature is that it actually sends a pager to your cell phone that tells you your alarm has been tripped. Now, 2 weeks ago, I added a shock sensor to the factory alarm system, and I was going to shoot a video about that, but you can actually go online and if you go to YouTube and you say add shock sensor Dodge Challenger, there's this guy Diaz who knows how to do all that. He'll tell you how to do the wiring to it and everything else. But in that case, what I did with him is it was really expensive, I thought, for what I ended up having to do all the work myself, especially having to take the panels apart underneath the dashboard. But I learned quite a bit from doing it that way. I then was able to find a manual online that had the wiring diagram for the Challenger, and it's not really that difficult. There are actually 3 wires involved. I mean, when you get this, it has a multitude of harnesses, but it's really just one harness with 3 wires. The other wires aren't being used. So the wiring, and I've got this hooked up in test mode to test it because I wanted to make sure it was going to work, was that the red goes to positive, the black goes to negative, and then here is the horn relay. And that's actually the alarm trigger that you're looking for. And I've actually just pulled the horn relay out and I tied it to the positive side of the horn relay so that when the alarm trips, it sends a pulse signal where your horns go beep, 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 beep. That's what this device is looking for, a 10-second pulse signal before it sends you the phone. So what I'm going to do is actually set the alarm and trip it for you so that you can see what it looks like and see what it's on my phone and what it sounds like. So just arm the car, and I'm going to wait. It takes like 20 seconds for the actual factory alarm to arm. And because I'm tied into the horn circuit, which is tied into the factory alarm circuit, this device should go ahead and work. This actually, when you hook it up, if you want to zoom in here real quick, you'll actually know when you got it right because you get a solid green LED telling you that the horn circuit's activated and a red LED telling you that the GPS is working on it. Now, I can't mount this under the hood. It's supposed to be mounted because metal's supposed to block it, so I'm actually going to put it inside the cabinet here. Alright, so that should have been enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trip the factory alarm, and I'll hold my phone up here so you can see what happens. And then I hope you can hear it too. Okay, so as you can see, the Linkr is working, and that's what happens when you trip the alarm. And that was the shock sensor. When I hit the tire, that was the shock sensor I installed last week. I could have tried to open the doors or reach in to trip the alarm too. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this inside the dash on the passenger side. I'm going to pull out all of the paneling and find that there's a connector I looked up online that I think has positive power, continuous positive power on it. One other thing that I want to note is that this actually has a battery backup built into it, so if someone were to disconnect your battery, this will still work on the car. And the first year for monitoring on this is free. The second year is 40 bucks. When you think about what you get from it, and that you wonder why the factory alarm doesn't come with some of this stuff like the shock sensor and a tracker and all this, what I call common sense security for a car that's expensive and a car that's a high steel car, a high value target car out there. It kind of makes you wonder. Now, some of you are going to say, well, it does come with Uconnect, and it comes with. But the cost of Uconnect at $155, $255, $300 a year compared to a one-time purchase of 120 bucks, I mean it's a no-brainer. far as I'm concerned. Alright, I will pause now and I'll take the paneling out and show you the wiring inside. So I want to just show you that, you pay so much for a car like this, you think it's going to be well built. Well, these things just pull off. There are just little clips here, and I use a tool, a trim tool, to pop them out. But that's basically all you do. And then over here there's one that's in the corner post. You got to be careful of this one. When you pull it loose like this, it just comes off. And it's a center post, so you got to get this off in order to get the lower one off. And that's this one here. And then this is the one you need to probably start back here with. You lift up on this, it should pop out. Just try and not break it. Use a little common sense. Okay, so that's how you get to the kick panel wiring, and the wiring is actually down here. Shake this right now. Okay, buying one of these trim tool kits is a smart idea, especially when working on cars today, because they come in ultra handy whether you're doing body work or not. And there are the wires, and you can see how they run up there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a wire that I can get into the the connectors, and the connectors are down here underneath here. I don't know if we can get a shot of that or not, but they're on the side panel over here, and that's what I'm going to be working with. Okay, go ahead and pause. Can you move that? Okay, so as you can see here, I've ripped out all the paneling stuff. I've gotten underneath there. It's an electrical nightmare. I mean, I found one cable, but I had about this much space to work with it, and I wasn't going to try and cut into it because it's a main connector, 32 pin. They call it the instrument panel harness cable that plugs into the main section that goes directly back to the battery in the trunk. However, I decided that if I can't go here, I'm going to have to go back over here. So we're going to come over on this side of it, car. And the same thing applies here. I took out, the panel section stuff. Now I'll show you right here. I've lifted all this up for you. But if you focus right in here, this is where I attached, right here on this wire here, I cut into the wire harness last week to put in my shock sensor right here. And this is the wire, and it runs up here, and the shock sensor is actually mounted right here. It's kind of loose, as you can see on it, but it works I'm sorry, it's right here on it. That's the shock sensor, and then the ground for the shock sensor is right over here on the door. Okay, so in doing this, what I found was I actually found the OBD2 connector, and I took it out of the socket, and actually pin 8 on the OBD2 connector is hot, and there's enough wire here, right here, that I can put a vampire tap on it. So I'm just going to tap into here. The other thing is, right here is the hood release, and if you follow the hood release up, there's actually a bunch of cables that come through there. There's a rubber grommet, and that's where I'm going to punch through. We'll come over here now. Punch through the rubber grommet down here. I'll probably punch through where the wires are coming through, the upper grommet there, and then run my wire for my horn sensor along the hood release, which should take it right over to here. Right over to here. So here's the hood release. I'm going to come out where those wires are there. Take it right over to here. This actually just lifts out like so on it. And this is the horn. And all we have to do on the horn here is find the positive side to hook to it, and we're good to go. as far as the cabling and all that goes. So this shouldn't be that difficult. You know, I'll let you know the wires are right here, and I can pull the wire cabling out through this and go ahead and wire it in. So I'll get to that point. When I get to that point, I'll start filming again.
Go.
Get down here. So this is what it looks like. This is the actual shock sensor installed. This is the pager and alarm sensor I just put in that we talked about. This is the OBD2 connector. This is pin 8 hot. I put a vampire tap on it and then wrapped it in cloth tape. I ran the ground wire to here, and then I punched through the alarm wire through the rubber grommet that I told you about, where the cabling and the hood pin comes through on that side. And that's it. It's all wired up. Right now it's got red lights on it. I'm hoping that it's going to be able to communicate in a little bit. And it may have a red light also because they don't have a horn sensor hooked up. So we'll see. Alright, that's it for now. I'll come back when I get the rest of it going. Okay, so vampire tap installed on the OBD2 diagnostic port. I'm going to snap that back in place. Ground wire has been hooked up here properly. This is the wire that I ran through. I actually followed the hood release through there's a wire package above the hood release. Punched a hole through it, put a hanger on one end, taped it on the other end of the hanger, pulled this through, wired it up to the hood, the positive side of the hood, and it looks really good. I'll show you how I ran the wire on that, and just tested it, and it works fine. So for those of you who are going to try and install this thing, I highly recommend tapping off of this. It was a lot easier. It's a vampire tap with a push tap on it. Let me show you what I'm talking about real quick. Let me stand up here. When I say vampire taps, these are vampire taps. And what you do is you find the right size. It gives you a gauge size here on this box. They're called quick iBooks. And you match up the wire size, and then you just squeeze these with crimp them with a pair of pliers, and it cuts into the wire and makes connection. And then you find the other piece that you put on the wire you want to connect to it, and you vampire tap it in like this. And that's what I did for the power connection on there. I also did it for the horn connection as well. So I'll show you where I ran the horn wire. I'm going to come over here. If you can see right here, the horn wire came out through the firewall. I ran it right in the same channel that the hood release came in, underneath there, right to the hood, right to the horn, and attached it to the horn there with another vampire tap. That's it. Works like a champ. Thanks for watching. I hope this is helpful to somebody.